Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today is Tuesday, September 26, 2023. I am Jai Radhe Devi Dasi, and we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creations, Chapter 18, Lord Vamanadev, the Dwarf Incarnation, Text 5. So I give you some time to pull up the verse on your devices, and I will read some prayers to my spiritual teachers. Om Jnana Tibrandasya Jana Jana. Born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadatit Swapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Pandit Srivas Thakur, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I pray that Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji, Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Gurudev use me as an instrument so that their message can flow through me to give me the words to serve the Vaishnavas listening. So as I said, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creations, Chapter 18, Lord Vamanadev, the Dwarf Incarnation, Text 5. Please repeat. Shronayam Shravana Dwadashyam. Do you need more time to pull up the verses? 8, chapter 18, text 5. Muhurte bijiti prabhu sarva nakshatra taradyas chakrustad janma dakshinam. Please chant. Shronaya Shravana Dwadashyam Muhurte Bijiti Prabhu Sarve Nakshatra Taradyasha Chakrustad Janma Dakshinam. Shronayam Shravana Dwadashyam Muhurte Bijiti Prabhu Sarve Nakshatra Taradyas Chakrustaj Janma Dakshinam. Shronayam. When the moon was situated in the Shravana lunar mansion, Shravana Dwadashyam, on the 12th lunar day of the bright fourth night in the month of Bhadra, the day famous as Shravana Dwadasi, Muhurte, in the auspicious moment, Abhijiti, in the first portion of the Shravana lunar mansion, known as Abhijiti Nakshatra, and in the Abhijit Muhurta, occurring at midday. Prabhu, the Lord, Sarve, all, Nakshatra, stars, Tara, planets, Adya, beginning with the sun and followed by the other planets, Chakru, made, Tat Janma, birthday of the Lord, Dakshinam, very munificent. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. On the day of Shravana Dwadasi, the 12th day of the bright fortnight in the month of Bhadra, when the moon came into the lunar mansion Shravana, at the auspicious moment of Abhijit, the Lord appeared in this universe. Considering the Lord's appearance very auspicious, all the stars and planets from the sun to Saturn were munificently charitable. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, an expert astrologer, explains the word nakshatra taradya. The word nakshatra means the stars, and the word tata in this context refers to the planets. Adya means the first one specifically mentioned. Among the planets, the first is Surya, the sun, not the moon. Therefore, according to the Vedic version, the modern astronomer's proposition that the moon is nearest to the earth should not be accepted. The chronological order in which people all over the world refer to the days of the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, corresponds to the Vedic order of the planets and thus circumstantiates the Vedic version. Apart from this, when the Lord appeared, the planets and stars became situated very auspiciously, according to astrological calculations, to celebrate the birth of the Lord. So today is Vaman Dwadasi, so we're taking a break from Canto 2 to read more about Lord Vamanadev's birth and existence. And he's the dwarf Brahmana incarnation of Vishnu. So if we remember in Bhagavad Gita 4:8, Krishna says, in order to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium. So in this case, Krishna appeared as a Brahmana dwarf, Lord Vamanadev, to annihilate the miscreants and deliver the pious. And in this case, both happen to be the same person. So we can learn about what happens. So during this time, there was a major battle between the demigods and the demons. King Bali, the leader of the demons, defeated Indra. He was the king of the heavens and conquered the three worlds. And so as a result, the demigods were very distressed because the demons had won over their own king, right? So they prayed to Lord Vishnu for help. And Lord Vishnu agreed to appear as Lord Vamanadev. So the description follows in Srimad Bhagavatam 8:5-2-12. His four hands were decorated with a conch shell, club, lotus, and disc. He was dressed in yellow garments, and his eyes appeared like the petals of a blooming lotus. The body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, blackish in complexion, was free from all inebrities. His lotus face, decorated with earrings resembling sharks, appeared very beautiful, and on his bosom was the mark of the Srivatsa. He wore bangles on his wrists, armlets on his arms, a helmet on his head, a belt on his waist, a sacred thread across his chest, and ankle bells decorating his lotus feet. An uncommonly beautiful garland of flowers decorated his bosom, and because the flowers were extremely fragrant, a large group of bees making their natural humming sounds invaded them for honey. When the Lord appeared wearing the Kaustubha gem on his neck, his effulgence vanquished the darkness in the home of Prajapati Kashyap. At that time there was happiness in all directions, in the reservoirs of water like the rivers and oceans, and in the core of everyone's heart. The various seasons displayed their respective qualities, and all living entities in the upper planetary system, in outer space and on the surface of the earth, were jubilant. The demigods, the cows, brahmanas, and the hills and mountains were all filled with joy. So we get a really clear, descriptive image of God as he appears on earth during this time. And the description is everyone is extremely happy. Can we even imagine such an occurrence now, right? It's just unfathomable, and yet we have clear descriptions that we can picture it in our mind so vividly because we have these descriptions. He goes on to say that the Lord appeared in his original form with ornaments and weapons in his hands. Although this ever-existing form is not visible in the material world, he nonetheless appeared in this form. Then in the presence of his father and mother, he assumed the form of Vamana, a Brahman dwarf, a brahmachari, just like a theatrical actor. So we know that this is not an ordinary birth. He appears and then assumes the form he wanted to take for this particular incarnation, for this particular birth that he's taking on earth, which is as a brahmana. Not just any brahmana, a dwarf brahmana. So we keep thinking, why is he described like that? Well, we can read on and find out, because it's a very important piece of information in the story. So we know at this time Bali Maharaj was holding a sacrificial ceremony, and Lord Vamanadev went there, and when he entered the arena, because of his bright effulgence, the priests, along with Bali Maharaj, and all the members of the assembly were robbed of their splendor. Thus they began to ask one another whether the sun god himself, Sanat Kumara, or the fire god had personally come to see the sacrificial ceremony. Although he was appearing as a Brahmana boy, his brilliant effulgence diminished the brilliance of all the priests and their disciples, who thus stood from their seats and welcomed the Lord properly by offering obeisances. King Bali was very happy to see him. So even though he was the leader of the demons, he was at heart the devotee, because if we look at his family history, we know that he's the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, which means he's also the great-grandson of Hiranyakashipu. So you can see he's got both, right, demon and devotee heart within him, right? As do most of us, right? Most of us, we have this natural tendency to serve, Krishna, but then we also have this desire to be served ourselves. So we can totally relate that we have this duality even within ourselves. So he says he knows that his duty is to offer charity. So he says to Lord Vamanadev after washing his feet, "Whatever you want, you may take from me." And of course, Lord Vamanadev responds, "I only want 3 paces of land to the measurement of my steps." And everyone's thinking, well, this is a, dwarf Brahmana. He's short. How big can his steps be? So he's like, sure, take it. But his spiritual teacher, Sukracharya, knew that this was Lord Vishnu and this was a trick. So he says, this person falsely appearing as a brahmachari is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who has come in this form to take away all your land, wealth, beauty, power, fame, and education. After taking everything from you, he will deliver it to Indra, your enemy. So he goes on to make the following points, that if you give everything to Lord Vishnu, you'll have no means of livelihood. He goes on to say, learned scholars do not praise that charity which endangers one's own livelihood. Charity, sacrifice, austerity, and fruitive activities are possible for one who is competent to earn his livelihood properly. They are not possible for one who cannot maintain themselves. To be without money is not very satisfactory, for in that position one cannot fulfill one's desires. When one gives charity to a poor man or beggar, one remains unfulfilled in self-realization and in sense gratification. So then the question comes up that Lord Bali had offered the 3 paces of land, and what would happen if he took it away? That would be going back on his word. Well, Sukracharya responds that in earning one's livelihood, when one's life is in danger, in protecting cows in Brahminical culture, or in protecting a person from an enemy's hand, falsity is never condemned. So Bali Maharaj thinks of these things, right? Because this is his spiritual teacher, he's a spiritual advisor. So he's carefully considers the advice, and to disregard the advice of a spiritual teacher, it's a big thing also for a Kshatriya. So he's weighing, all these options, and he says, as the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, how can I break a promise in the name of greed and behave like an ordinary cheater? My fear isn't hell, poverty, an ocean of distress, fall down from my position, or even death itself. My fear is cheating a brahmana. At the time of death, one is separated by their worldly possessions and material opulences, so why not give it now in charity to the brahmana? In due course of time, everything is taken away, and the only thing that remains is one's reputation. By giving charity, a benevolent and merciful person undoubtedly becomes even more auspicious, especially when they give charity to a brahmana. So he agrees to give the 3 paces of land. Vamanadeva expands himself to his universal form, and with one step he covers the entire surface of the earth, the sky with his body, and all directions with his arms. And then as he takes the second step, he covers the entire heavenly planets. So there's not even a spot remaining for the third step. So Because he was unable to fulfill his promise of 3 paces, King Bali was immediately arrested and bound with the ropes of Varuna. King Bali, however, was not deterred, and he was fixed in his determination. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 8:22-2, he says, "O best personality of Godhead, most worshipable for all the demigods, if you think that my promise has become false, I shall certainly rectify matters to make it truthful. I cannot allow my promise to be false. Please, therefore, place your 3rd lotus footstep on my head." He goes on to say, "What is the use of the material body, which automatically leaves its owner at the end of life? Only by providence I have been forcibly brought under your lotus feet and deprived of all my opulence, because of the illusion created by temporary opulence." People in general who live under material conditions facing accidental death at every moment do not understand that this life is temporary. Only by providence have I been saved from that condition. So he'd already offered everything and had nothing left to give except his life. And so he does that without even a second thought. And so, the Supreme Lord Krishna, being very pleased, releases him and says that, that even though you've been deprived of your riches, fallen from your original position, defeated and arrested by your enemies, rebuked and deserted by your relatives and friends, although suffering the pain of being bound, and although rebuked and cursed by your spiritual teacher, Bali Maharaj, being fixed in your vow, did not give up his truthfulness. It was certainly with pretension that I spoke about religious principles, but he did not give up religious principles for his true to his word. Because of his great tolerance, I've given him a place not obtainable even by the demigods. He will become the king of the heavenly planets during the period of the Manu, known as Shavarni. Until Bali Maharaj achieves the position of king of heaven, he shall live on the planet Sutala, which was made by Vishwakarma according to my order. Because it is especially protected by me, it is free from mental and bodily miseries, fatigue, dizziness, defeat, and all other disturbances. Bali Maharaj, you may now go live there peacefully. So this is really just a beautiful story with so many wonderful lessons. And the lesson that I want to focus in on is charity, right? Because that is one really great service that we can do no matter what we're doing, like whatever our everyday service is, we can always give in charity. So many times we think, I'm working this job that has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness, right? It might be even against the principles, or in some ways you feel like you're not living up to your principles when you work at your job. But if we can donate in charity the earnings that we make, then, kind of makes it all worthful, right? It gives it meaning. Sometimes we think that it's just too difficult to do. Like, I don't know, have there been any times where you've been called upon to give and you felt very stretched to do so? Do you want to share? Okay, does anyone else want to share?
I don't know how this thing works.
I think I forgot to turn up the volume.
Is this?
I'll go do that really quick.
Yes, that works. Oh, okay. I have a mindset where I always feel stretched somehow. So a particular instance, the first time I went to Vrindavan, I really fell in love with this certain charity called Care for Cows, where they rescue injured and sick cows, and they take them in, and they take care of them for the rest of their lives. And I wasn't making much money at the time. I was like 26 or something, living in New York City.
So just like 2 years ago.
Exactly, just 2 years ago. But I really wanted to sponsor a cow, and it was a minimal dollar amount a month, but my budget was so tight. I thought, what if I can't make that payment? But in my heart, I felt like I had to make that commitment, and I did. And there have been many months in my life where the budget is still very tight, but I'm so glad that I kept that commitment, because then everything else kind of revolves around that one donation a month.
Thank you for sharing. That's very lovely. Anyone else have any realizations or times that you've been stretched to give in charity and it really worked out that you want to share? I have a friend that she was very much in distress about money, right? And her guru was coming, and she had to cook and buy groceries. And, when we cook for our guru, we don't just buy any groceries. It's like organic. We find the best, produce. And she was like using up the last dollars in her account. And she's like, how am I going to make this work? But she felt that, no, I have to serve and please my guru. And somehow or another, it worked out. She said shortly after that, she learned of an inheritance. Like, just by giving, right, she received more. And that's one way we can think of, like, overextending ourselves. If we think of giving in charity, when we're giving, our hand is open, and therefore it's more ready to receive. But sometimes if we think, oh no, I can't give, you can't receive anything with a closed fist, right? So we want to make sure that we're always having that open heart, that open hand, to give out, because you never know. And it's not just money, right? So Bali Maharaj gave everything. When he had nothing left to give, he gave his life. So we can give our time, our energy, our thoughts to Krishna. There's a time where actually recently, I started, this year I started teaching full-time at TKG Academy, and some days are longer than others, and Tuesday was going to be my long day at the school, and I thought, how can I continue giving Srimad Bhagavatam class in the morning and then go and teach this long day? It's a lot, it's tiring. The kids are great, but they overstimulate me, and so I get very tired. And so I was like, how is this going to happen? And I remember it was the week before school started, and I was giving class, and I really thought it was going to be my last time giving class. And I'm sitting there thinking, and this class ended up being amazing. Some classes are better than others. This class was just amazing. Everybody was so engaged. You could feel it in the air that, this class wasn't from me, it was through me. And in that moment, I got this message that I can't give this up, but how can I continue it? So later on, we were setting up the classrooms, and I was mentioning to, my friend and the principal, Mother Nichikishori, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do. How am I going to continue? She's like, well, what if we made another day your long day? And it was this whole thing, just by thinking about how can I make it happen, Krishna arranged everything to make it happen, and telling me that this was a very important service for me to do, even though it stretches me. It stretches my time and energy, really the energy more than anything else. But it's really nice. It's a nice service. And so it helped me shift my mindset from, oh my God, I have to give Srimad Bhagavatam class. Why did I agree to this? Because that's how I was every Tuesday morning. Why did I agree to this? Because I could stay in bed longer and, wake up at a more leisurely time. And after that, I just had this feeling of wow, I get to give Srimad Bhagavatam class today. Let me get to class. Let me get there. Maybe not on time, but let me get there, as quickly as I can after waking up. So, you know, I find this over and over again in my life, and I'm sure if we all think about in our own lives, you know, when we stretch ourselves, when we overextend ourselves, Krishna reciprocates like tenfold, 100-fold, you know, and so we really want to maintain that mood of giving. You know, if we can give money, that's great. You know, not just because I work there, but TKG Academy is a great charitable donation that you can make every month. Even the temple here needs much maintenance, right? So we can donate here. Cow protection. There's so many great Krishna charities that we can donate to. Srila Prabhupada has said that this is the most important thing in the purport of Bhagavad Gita 10:4 and 5. Prabhupada says, as far as charity is concerned, one should give 50% of their earnings to some good cause. And what is a good cause? It is that which is conducted in terms of Krishna consciousness. That is not only a good cause, but it is the best cause. Because Krishna is good, his cause is also good. Thus, charity should be given to a person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness. So this is what, you know, Prabhupada has even stated that is the highest form of charity, is giving to Krishna's service in some ways, right? And so, you know, when we go about our days, look into some charitable ISKCON foundations, you know, there's ISKCOUP, which is for cow protection. You can still, I think, donate for the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. There's so many different causes, like Food for Life as well, donating the distribution of prasadam worldwide. So yeah, I would say that's some things we really want to think about. So I'll stop here and see if there's any questions, realizations, or comments that we want to share.
Just a short comment. I just remembered a time that my spiritual master, His Holiness Radha Swami, was asked, because as a grihasta, one of your obligations is supposed to be to use those earnings to help in Krishna consciousness, to donate some of that money. It's purifying. And someone asked him, how much should we give? And he said, you should give just enough that it hurts a little.
Exactly. We want to stretch ourselves just a little. So without stretching, how will we grow? I've heard a quote that, like, life begins outside of your comfort zone. So, thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have any comments or realizations or questions? I know you must have some. Please share. Do you want to share? Okay, well then I can end early. I'll stop here. We can focus on Lord Vamanadev and his how he brought out that charitable mood, and even, you know, a demon, right? He's really a devotee at heart, and that's really how all of us are. We're demons that are all devotees at heart, so that we can, you know, engage our mind and our body. Because Krishna says, whatever you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. So we definitely want to, you know, think about this all day, you know, especially today, but every day, about what we can give to Krishna and how we can offer everything that we do to Krishna. So I'll stop here. Tirantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki